Okay, so we're going to start with the second video, subtraction integer rules. If you can see this, there's two learning targets for this section. The first learning target is I can recognize if and I added subtraction number sentence is positive or negative, because in the last video we talked about just recognizing basically an addition number sentence. But these are subtraction number sentences, and they're a little bit different. Okay, and the second one is I can use the number line to subtract integers. Now, we only have two learning targets this time because I don't usually teach subtraction using counters. To me, it's difficult to understand. So we are just going to talk about absolute value on the number line with subtraction and talk about subtracting with integers, okay? All right, so we're going to get started. The first thing I want you guys to understand, I'm going to draw a number line, is that subtracting is a lot like adding, okay? Subtracting means take away. Here's my number line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so I have a number line from 15 to negative 15 with 0 in the middle. Okay, so we talked about earlier that if you have the absolute value of two numbers, if we have the number 6 and we have the number, we said put plus negative 4, okay, and we would add that on the number line. Well, with subtracting, and I hinted at this in the last video, sometimes you see it like this. You have 6 minus 4, okay? 6 minus 4 is a subtraction sentence where it's basically saying take positive 6 and positive 4 and subtract it from each other. These two things are the exact same thing. Saying 6 plus negative 4 or 6 take away 4 means the same thing. In other words, if you have, we'll do 6 minus 4, obviously 6 minus 4 equals 2, correct? All right. And 6 plus negative 4 also equals 2, okay? It is the exact same thing, okay? So sometimes for subtraction, what we need to do is we already know the rules for addition. So we can take our signs here and we do something called the change rule. Okay, this is very important. So in subtracting any kind of numbers, we do change. Okay, so change means that we are going to change the subtraction sign okay, change the subtraction sign to an addition sign. That's your first change, okay? First change. Then change, that's your second change. Change the sign of the second number. Okay, so change. That's slang for this rule. So this is what we call the change rule. So in other words, if we have the numbers, let's say we have 8 minus 12, okay? 8 minus 12. Okay, so it's positive 8, take away positive 12. But what we can do, like I just showed you up here, that it means the same thing. I can use the change sign by saying 8. I don't change the first number because it's not change. It's change. I change the subtraction to an addition. And I change this positive 12 to a negative 12. 8 plus negative 12. It means the same thing, okay? 8 plus negative 12. So when I do that, let's check it. 8 minus 12 is going to be negative 4. 8 plus negative 12 is also going to be negative 4. Okay? The reason that this works is because taking away a positive number is the same thing as adding a negative. I'm just saying 8 take away 12, or 8 and take away 12. Okay? So I'm putting these two together. It is the same thing. 8 minus 12 is like saying I'm going to add 8 and then take away 12. Okay? All right, so when you get to this, you can look at this and you can say, well, if I've done change, and I have a positive 8 and a negative 12, I revert back to the rules of recognizing that the number sentence, an addition number sentence, if my negative 12 has a greater absolute value than my positive 8, then it's going to be a negative. Okay? So let's try a different one. Let's say 5 minus 2. Now you guys know that 5 minus 2 is 3. Everybody knows that. We've been doing that for a while. But we can still do it the same way. We can say 5 plus negative 2. And we evaluate it this way. We can say positive absolute value of 5 is 5. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2. And 5 is greater, the absolute value of positive 5 is greater than the absolute value of negative 2. So my number is going to be a positive number. And I didn't have to solve it, but I do know that it is 3. What if we have negative 8 plus, we don't need a plus sign, do we? Let's try that again. Negative 8 minus 10. Okay, same rules apply. Okay, negative 8, that number stays the same. Change the subtraction sign to an addition sign, and change that positive 10 into a negative 10. So now I have negative 8 plus negative 10. And they're both negative, so that means the absolute value are both going the negative direction, which means that you're going to have a negative number. And this negative number is just like saying 8 plus 10 is 18. Well, this is negative 8 plus negative 10 is negative 18. That is the answer to that question, just if you want to know. Okay, let's see. What about this one? What if we have negative 5 minus negative 2? Okay, negative 5 minus negative 2. So I have a negative and a negative. Okay, so I know that I keep the negative 5. Now, minus negative 2 is like saying taking away a negative. Okay, taking away something negative in your life is like adding a positive to your life. So you can add the opposite. So that makes that negative 2 positive 2. So you are adding the opposite. Adding the opposite. That's the change rule. Add the opposite. So negative 5 plus positive 2. Well, negative 5 has a greater absolute value than positive 2, so the answer is going to be a negative. And if you say negative 5 plus 2, if you put that in your calculator, that gives you negative 3. Okay? Watch. If you also do negative 5 minus negative 2, it gives you negative 3. It's the same thing. Change. Okay? So you can recognize if a subtraction number sentence is going to be positive or negative just by using the change rule and looking to see which one has the greater absolute value. Okay? So let's look at our iExcel. This is actually going to be C6. And you guys will have it in your Google Classroom. Okay, so it says, is negative 50 minus 9 positive or negative? Okay, so if we were to make this plus and then a negative 9, change, and I'm not very good with this marker, but let's say it's negative 50 plus negative 9. Those are both negative. So negative 50 plus negative 9 is going to be negative because they both are negative numbers. Okay, let's do this one. Positive 6, take away negative 50. So change that. So add the opposite. We can change. So this is positive 6 and positive 50. So they're both positive. So now the number is going to be positive. And the reason we have to do that change first is because that negative 54 could look very deceiving. It makes it look like it's the negative would be have a greater value. But because we have to add the opposite or change the subtraction to addition and change the sign of the second number, add the opposite, it will work. And I showed you guys on the calculator earlier that it works. We can even look at that again in just a minute. Okay, so it's going to be positive. Okay, now look at this one. We have negative 4 minus negative 2. Well, when you take away a negative, that's adding a positive. So because if you take away some negative in your life, typically positive things happen, right? Same thing with math. Take away a negative is adding a positive. So negative 4 plus positive 2. So these are now both positive. So your answer is going to be positive. Oh, hold on. Oh, I actually I hit negative or positive as the negative 4 plus positive 2 would be negative. I made a mistake, sorry. It should have been negative. Okay, let's look at this one. We have positive 84 minus negative 32. So when we add the opposite, we have positive 84 and we have a positive 32. So if they're both positive, it should be a positive number. Okay, the next one, we have negative 3 take away negative 6. There again, if you have taken away something negative, then you are basically adding something positive. So if you take away a negative, add the opposite or change. So negative 3, positive 6. Positive 6 has a greater absolute value than negative 3. So that means the number is going to be positive because your positive 6 is greater. All right, we have 4 minus negative 7. So we are going to add the opposite. Now we have a positive 4 and a positive 7. So our answer is going to be positive. Okay, let's look at this one. We have negative 77 minus negative 46. Okay, so let's add the opposite. So we have negative 77 and a positive 46. So which one has the greater absolute value? The negative 77 or the positive 46? Well, negative 77 is a bigger number, so it has a greater absolute value. So let's put negative. The number should be negative. Okay. Let's try this one. We have negative 1 take away 49. So if we add the opposite, so we have negative 1 plus negative 49. Both of the numbers are negative. Now, if you add the opposite, then that means that they should be negative. Okay? And we can do the same thing. And 37 minus 3, I think you guys know that 37 minus 3 is just going to be 34, but let's go ahead and do our rule. Add the opposite, which means that it's positive 37, negative 3. That means that our positive is greater value, absolute value than our negative 3. And we've got correct answer. okay? Okay, so I have 65, SMART score 65. I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to go back to our notes. And the next learning target that we're going to talk about is I can use the number line to subtract integers, okay? So I'm going to get a new page here, and we're going to draw the number line, okay? Okay, start with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is negative 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There. Okay. So I have my number line, and I'm going to say that I'm going to do 5 minus 6. Okay? 5 minus 6. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find positive 5. Okay? And then I'm going to do my rule, which is, what's the rule called? I hope you said change rule, because I'm going to add the opposite. So I have 5. This makes this 5 plus negative 6. Okay, so now if I start at my 5 and I go back 6, because that's what we did when we were doing it with adding on a number line, we just have to go, if it's a positive number, you go to the right. If it's a negative number, you go to the left. The same rules that apply on adding integers from the previous video. So I'm going to say I start at 5 and I'm going to go back 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I was to connect this, that means that negative 1 is my answer. And I can check that and I can say 5 minus 6 is negative 1. Or I could put in 5 plus negative 6, which also is negative 1. See, it works both ways. Okay, let's do negative 2 minus 3. Okay. Now, lots of you guys are going to go, oh, I know that when that's 1, but that's not the case, because you have to do change, okay? You have to say change the sign of the subtraction to an addition and change the sign of the second number. So it's add the opposite, okay? Negative 2 plus negative 3. So that means that we start at negative 2 on the number line. So I'm going to start here. And then if it's a positive number, I go to the right. If it's a negative number, I go to the left. And it's negative. So I'm going to go back 1, 2, 3. And it looks like I end at negative 5. So negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5. Same thing as negative 2 plus negative 3. So if you have mastered the adding integers rules with number lines, then all you have to do is remember the change rule, change the sign of the subtraction to an addition, change the sign of the second number. You don't change the first number, just the second one, and you will be okay. So let's do a few of these on your iExcel. This is actually C8, subtract integers using a number line. Okay, so if you look at our number lines, which number line models 1 minus negative 4? So I'm going to get my pen here and I'm going to say change. So now that's 1 plus positive 4. So if I look at that, I start at 1. Well, this one starts at 1. Now it starts at negative 4. So this one starts at 1 and it goes to the right because it's a positive number now. Because taking away a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. So plus positive 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So our number line is this one and it ends up at 5. Okay. Let's do the next one. We have 3 minus 8. So add our opposite of that, and that's change. So it's 3 plus -8. So we start at 3. They both start at 3, but it says plus -8. So this one goes back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops, don't look like it's that one. This one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one is our guy. So it looks like 3 plus -8 is -5. Okay, here's another one. So we have change. We automatically, when it's subtraction, doesn't matter what, add the opposite, change. So now we have -4 plus 6, okay? So start at -4. They both start, this one starts at -4, this one starts at -4. Okay, let's say which one goes +6. Looks like they're both going the correct direction, but we got to figure out which one goes 6 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it's this one. Just check this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's definitely the second one. So it looks like it's +2 is our answer. Okay. Which number line models -5 minus 3? First thing we do, what's the first thing we do? Okay, we are going to do change. Okay, so it's -5 plus -3. So we find -5. They both start at -5, but we want it to go to the left because it's a -3, not to the right. So -3, this one goes to the left, the second one does. 1, 2, 3. So it looks like this one. This one goes 3 also, but it's going 3 to the right. That's not the way we want to go. So it's -8 is our answer. Awesome. Okay. Let's try this one. So if you're taking away a -1, what are you actually doing? You're adding the opposite, adding a +1. Okay, so this is 9 plus +1. Okay, so if it starts at 9, this one both starts at 9, but we're saying plus +1. We want to go to the right because it's positive. This one goes to the right, this one goes to the left. So it's this one right here, plus +1. 9 plus 1 is 10. So 9 take away a -1 is the same thing as the 9 add a +1. Okay, -1 minus 1. Now these look like opposites, but they are not. Don't get those confused because they're both a -1 and a -1, okay? So now that you say -1 plus -1, okay, let's look at it. -1, they both start at -1, plus another -1, which means it's going to the left because it's negative, is going to be -2. Just like 1 plus 1 equals 2, -1 plus -1 equals -2. If you do the change rule and you add the opposite, it really helps you see that. Okay, so this one here, it looks like my mark didn't go away. This one here is 1 plus 1 minus -1. So we're going to add the opposite, right? So this is 1 plus +1. So if you have 1 plus +1, you're going to start with your 1 and you're adding 1 more to it. So it looks like it's just this one right here. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay. All right. So it looks like my lines don't want to go away. Okay. Erase those. Okay. We're going to do one more. And we have -18 minus 2. I would like for you to tell me what is -18 minus 2 if you're making an addition sentence. I hope you said -18 plus -2 because that would be the correct thing. So -18 plus -2, we're going to start at -18. This one starts at -2, this one starts at -18. So let's look at this one. -18, it's on scales of 2s. So you're going to take 2 away because it's going to the left. So it's -20. All right, -20. Okay. Remember, you always do the change rule. Add the opposite when you've got subtraction. That way you can see it as positive numbers, okay? Or a plus sign with either a positive and a negative, or two negatives or two positives. Do one more and then we're going to go. So we have -10 minus 2. So -10 take away -2. Start at -10. This one starts at +2. This one starts at -10. So I'm going to start at this one. And this one's on a scale of 1, so it's take away 1, take away 2. Looks like -10 take away 2, or -10 plus -2 is -12. And we'll select that one. Okay, so I'm at a SMART score of 64. It won't take you but a few more to get to 80. And these are something that you very much need to make sure that you understand, because after we do this, we're going to discuss how to add subtract integers without using manipulatives. And you guys need to get these rules in your head. It doesn't change. It's still adding the integers are the same. You just don't do it on a number line or with counters. So please watch these videos, and if you need more help, let us know, and we will be glad to help you. Okay, have a great week.